Did you know that the greatest danger of technology isn't the screen itself? It is what it replaces. Yes, it can be replacing positive or negative effects in your child's mind. So today, let us talk about the warning signs of technology which a parent need not to ignore. Uh, as we have said, technology has a lot of benefits. Number one, children learn from it. It builds creativity. Yes, a child can be learning new skills from the technology. It's also a resource for educational activities. Also, technology, when it's used well in a family, it brings family together when they are watching content together. We are not underrating the benefits of technology. It being useful, it being in use, it is very important. But also, it can create some negative signs to our children. And here they are. So too much screen time delays language development, especially in young children. It can affect the brain development because the children are too much used to the cartoons and screen time. It can delay language development. It also reduces attention span and concentration. Also, it increases the risk of anxiety and depression. Another thing, it can also affect the child's appetite and sleep. You discover some differences when the child is eating. There are some behavioral problems. This one we need to not to ignore. When it comes to the sleeping schedules, the child sleeps in different ways. It also reduces physical activity because the child is too much on TV. He is watching his favorite cartoons, Peppa Pig, Alvin, all these, and many more that the children are watching. They can be so much addicted to them that the time for physical activities cannot be used. And remember, when physical activities is reduced, it means even the child can also become obese. Uh, social media can also affect children, especially adult children, in the following ways. Number one, cyber bullying. This one affects too much. Yes, maybe they are told they're not beautiful. The verbal abuse, they encounter them online. Also, exposure to an inappropriate content. This one we need to take care as parents. And children are so much exposed to technology that they are far much ahead of us. So they watch inappropriate content. I'm sure you know them. Also, pressure to gain likes. Yes, especially in TikTok, Instagram. Yes, if the child do not get likes, and maybe he or she is hearing his friend has maybe 1,000 million likes, that one creates a lot of pressure. So here we need to take care. So how emotional signs of technology that your child is emotionally disturbed by the technology? Number one, the child becomes aggressive. something that is very small, it makes him become very angry. Then anxiety and sadness and depression, as we said, this child is very anxious. It can lead to depression. Then mood swings. Yes, sometimes after watching the TV or the dining room, she comes there being too moody, and you're wondering why. Also, loss of interest in activities that they usually liked. Let us go to behavioral effects of technology. Number one, your child is spending most of time on the screen. This is a danger sign. Then becomes secretive when he is watching sometimes he is lying on the time he has spent on you identify those behavioral problems or changes in your child. Take note that the child is being affected by the screen. Then there is physical signs that we need not to ignore. Frequent quality sleep. Spends too much time on the screen, so even getting a sleep becomes a problem. So the child develops insomnia. There is a frequent headaches and stomach aches. Sometimes the child says he has headache, she has stomach ache, and she was not having those problems before. Then reduced physical activity because he is spending or she's spending too much time on the screen. There is that reduction in connectivity of the physical activities. He's spending too much time in bedroom or in their rooms. Then there is weight gain because he's not doing a lot of work. He can easily become obese. Social signs, withdrawal from friends or friendships. Because remember, the child is getting friendship online. Fewer face-to-face connection. He avoid face-to-face connections too much. Poor communication skills. Remember, your child is learning from the online devices or internet. So that language that is being used either on the cartoons, on the videos they are watching, on the movies, he develops that language. So your child will be, maybe if they are using abusive language, you will notice your child becoming abusive all of a sudden. Yes. Then increased conflicts on who will use the screen at this time because his interest is on the screen. His mind has been diverted to the screen. Then we have academic signs. Decline in academic performance. Your child not doing very well, and he has been doing, there is that sudden change in performance. This is not something to ignore as parents. Then you discover that your child is not doing assignments and homeworks on time because the much time that he has is being spent on the screen. Then there is reduced motivation to learn. You all of a sudden discover that your child doesn't want to learn. So parents, these are the red flags that every parent need not to ignore. Number one, exposure to cyberbullying. The other one, contact to strangers online. Your child can even disappear all of a sudden from the strangers that they are connecting with. So this is not something to joke with. Then talking about self-harm. Yes, especially after maybe the child is not um, does not have that after comparing himself to the others, and maybe he does not gain those many likes, he can think of self-harm. This is where suicidal thoughts comes. Then there is hopelessness. You all of a sudden discover that your child is saying, I am not loved. I don't want to be here. I feel bad about myself. I am not beautiful. Why was I born? These are not things that parents need to joke with. Lack of sleep. So, what parents can do? Be calm. Don't rush to ideas. Don't rush to giving your child advice. Talk to your child in a very calm voice. Then connect with your child. Have quality time with your child. Spend time with your child in order to understand what is happening to them. Hey, this is very serious because we are too busy doing our works and other things. And we need to do that because we need to provide for them. But we are not spending much time with their child. So the time that is supposed to be spent by you as a parent with their child is being spent on online devices. Also, monitor or supervise. There are ways which you can use to track what your child is watching online. Monitor. Then encourage your child to be honest with what is happening to his life because he's not or she's not the first one. Also, if things get worse, if the child, you discover that your child needs medication, visit a pediatric. Also, make sure your child goes through counseling. Take him to a counselor or psychologist for help. Remember, cyberbullying, most of the children, and depression can lead to suicide. So parents, don't ignore this. Don't ignore. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like, you subscribe, and you share my video. Welcome.